Guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren. Heute beschäftigen wir uns mit Subjunktionen. Ladies and gentlemen, good day to you. Today we have an interesting topic again, and the topic is subjunction. We have started, but then this is the second part of it. And as to remind us, subjunction is used to join two phrases or even two sentences and bring them together. So it's interesting that we can form a sentence or two or three sentences with the use of conjunction. We can now match them together and we can have a longer sentence, or you say, simple sentence, you turn it through conjunction, they become complex sentences. So that's the level we are getting to gradually. So now today we want to talk about number one, we're still going to pronounce them later. Number two, number three, and actually we want to talk about 5 today, and want to see how are they used and what effect do they have in the arrangement of the sentence. What do they change? What do they affect? And then after this one, we'll talk about another one, which is the verb. We'll talk about that too. And then finally, we do something on done. So let's take it step by step. We start from the first 3, and then we go on later to the last 2. So we want to start with this one. Remember, 2 sentences, bring them together with the use of conjunction. Ich bleibe zu Hause. Ich bin krank. These are 2 sentences. The first one is ich bleibe, that's a verb, to stay. Ich bleibe zu Hause. I stay at home. Or I am staying. You remember? I stay, present tense. Ich bleibe is saying 2 things. I stay at home, or I am staying at home. So ich bleibe zu Hause. And then the second one is ich bin krank. I am sick. So, and then here we have a conjunction, weil. Weil simply means because. Because. So we have ich bleibe zu Hause. Ich bin krank. So what we are going to say now is I am staying at home because I am sick. So how do we do that? So let's start. Let's take off. Ich bleibe zu Hause. Ich bleibe zu Hause, weil ich krank bin. Now, something has taken place. The 2 sentences have been brought together, but then the arrangement has been altered. So you see this is the conjunction. And remember, ich, first position, bin, second position, and then krank comes last. Here we have ich, first position, krank, bin has come to the last position. What has caused that? That is the effect of this conjunction here. Whenever weil is used, the verb goes to the end. It will displace the verb from its normal second position. It takes it to the end. So you see, ich bleibe zu Hause, weil ich, this is the verb, second position, but because weil has been introduced, it took this being from the second position to the last position. And that is something peculiar about weil. So we'll go to the next. And another thing is, when you are using this conjunction, normally in a normal sentence, we have what we call Hauptsatz and we have what we call Nebensatz. What do you mean by that? The main sentence, the main clause, or the main clause, and then the subordinate clause. So we have the main here, and we have this one as the subordinate. So this weil introduces the subordinate. So I read it again. Ich bleibe zu Hause, weil ich krank bin. Now, let's do something. I want to change the order of that sentence, and we'll still see. Want to see, will it still be correct? Look at it now. That is, we want to bring the subordinate to the front, and let's see what happens. Weil ich krank bin, bleibe ich zu Hause. Look at this. Look at this. Now, we start with, of course, the first one is, I stay at home because I am sick. Or, I am staying at home because I am sick. Ich bleibe zu Hause, weil ich krank bin. The second one is, weil ich krank bin. Remember, this is the conjunction. And anywhere the conjunction is used, it takes the verb to the verb. Weil ich bleibe zu Hause, ich bin krank. Weil ich krank bin, the verb is at the end of that clause. And then we have the next sentence, bleibe ich. Because the subordinate is now in front, the main, the Hauptsatz or the main sentence will start with the verb. Please, let's note that. And not only that, there's another thing we have talked about, the use of punctuation marks. When you see two verbs meeting, they must be separated with a comma. Okay? We'll still talk more about that. So, weil ich krank bin, the verb is at the end of the first sentence. Bleibe ich zu Hause. Let's go to the next one. Wenn. Say it after me. Wenn. Wenn simply means if. So we have two sentences again. We want to join them together with a conjunction. Wenn. Kommt nach Hause. He comes to the house. Hat Zeit. He has time. I want to join them together by saying he will come to the house if he has time. Okay? If he has time. So let's just try it now. Kommt nach Hause. Nach Hause. Wenn Zeit hat. Now look at this sentence again. Something has happened. This is wenn. Before wenn, told you are talking of Hauptsatz, Nebensatz, main clause, subordinate clause. So you introduce the subordinate clause with a comma before it is introduced. It's introduced with wenn, conjunction, but then there must be a comma. So, kommt nach Hause, wenn Zeit hat. He will come to the house, or he comes to the house if he has time. If he has time. Interestingly, the way we did it with weil, we can also do it with wenn. That is, we bring the Nebensatz, we bring the subordinate clause to the beginning of the sentence, and let's see what happens. But in that case, you just excuse me, now I have to take this one off. Wenn I'll just write it here, Zeit hat. Okay. Wenn Zeit, this has to be big, this is now. Zeit hat, kommt nach, I will abbreviate now, kommt nach Hause. Now look at the sentence. This is the conjunction starting the sentence. And of course, this conjunction also throws the verb to the end. Just like in the first sentence, kommt nach Hause, wenn Zeit hat. Hat is at the end. So we see it here too. Wenn Zeit hat, wenn, and then we see the verb here. And because the two verbs are meeting here, there must be a comma. So we have here a beautiful comma. So, wenn Zeit hat, kommt nach Hause. Wenn Zeit hat, kommt nach Hause. The two actually mean the same thing. The positioning and is just a matter of style and a matter of what you want. The two are correct and the two are wonderful. Then we come to the next one, which is the use of das. The use of das. The use of das. And that simply means that. So let's try that. Frank glaubt, Mr. Frank thinks, ist gesund. That is, ist gesund. That he is healthy. He thinks he is healthy. So we want to join it together now. Remember, we are trying to bring these two sentences together neatly. Frank glaubt. And remember, because we are joining Nebensatz, main clause and subordinate clause. Now, before we introduce the subordinate clause, we put a comma. Frank glaubt, dass, and then das ist gesund. Das gesund ist. So we say, Frank glaubt, dass gesund ist. What's the meaning of that? Mr. Frank thinks that is heavy. That is just heavy, is just fine. So that is the use of these three. You might be asking a question, can't we change the positioning of this sentence? If you look at it, I put only one arrow. It will not work there. It will only work with this and with this, that you can change the main clause to the subordinate clause. Okay, then we go to the remaining two, which is deshalb and then. So we go there now. I'll bring this one up and bring this other one out.